In last week's episode, you accompanied us visiting the melodious Ile de Groix, as well as the beautiful Isle Belle-Île-en-Mer, where we hiked to the main village Le Palais to enjoy stunning cliff views. In Le Palais, we met a French sailing crew again that we had first helped on the Ile de Groix with their engine problems. We arranged to meet at Wat, which totally overwhelmed us with its clear waters and absolutely gorgeous anchorage. After a very interesting evening together, Ilya and I continued to sail to the Ile Dieu the next day, where we spent a few days with bike riding and exploring the wild island and its historical relics. From the harbour Port Joinville, we then headed for the last French isle of the Biscay on our way, the Ile de Ré.
We're just talking about our sailing trip here to or in the Biscay here, and we are both of the opinion that if you just jump over all of these islands and go straight across from the northern Bretagne to Spain, that you actually miss some of the most beautiful parts. And a lot of sailors just do this big crossing and never see these islands, which is really a shame, because we were just astonished by all the beauty of the islands, how individual they are, the beautiful beaches, the scent of flowers and pine woods that we went through with bikes. So if you have the chance, you should really go down the Atlantic coast. Right now we are just sailing to the Ile de Ré, and hope we will be there in time, because we have a tidal hub of around, I think it's 8 meters, because we have one day after spring tide, and we have like, I think 45 minutes that we could be later than what we calculated, so we have to do at least 6 knots in average.
We are a little bit late because we can only enter the harbor 2 hours before high water and 2 hours after high water, and now it's 1 hour after high water already, so we have to put the engine on and to hurry up a little bit because there is a spill. Sill. Sorry, not a spill, a sill. There is a sill, and it dries like 1 meter over the chart data, and we have to cross this sill. Yeah, latest at least 2 hours, or before 2 hours after high water. Yeah, so we have to hurry up.
We arrived at Saint-Martin-de-Ré just after sunset, and used the VHF to contact the harbor authorities. No reply. We tried again and again, but in the end had to accept that we had to leave the outer harbor due to the fact that outside the sill, the harbor would fall dry and Thula would tilt at least 30 degrees. Life punishes those who delay. 10 minutes too late, bad timing. But there was no time left for whining as the tide was going down again. Not only in Saint-Martin-de-Ré, but also in La Rochelle, our port of escape, which was another 9 miles away. Against the current, we had to sail under the bridge connecting the Ile de Ré with the mainland. Nanny had to help as time was running. At times, our echo sounder showed 0.3 meters on the keel. We made it to La Rochelle in the last minute. Had we been there half an hour later, it wouldn't have been possible to enter the harbor, and we would have had to wait around 2 hours for the water level to rise again. What an exciting 61 nautical mile journey that did not go as expected. The historical port of La Rochelle dates back to the 12th century, while the existing towers Saint-Nicolas to the left and the Tour de la Chaîne to the right were built in the 14th and 15th century. One of the charms of La Rochelle are its lighthouses, which remind one of its seafaring heritage. The early French settlers of Canada set sail here in the 17th century. And not only that, the seafarers of La Rochelle competed with their Breton, Norman, and Basque counterparts in cod fishing expeditions in Newfoundland. Many animal skins were brought back to France from Canada. In the middle of the 17th century, ships from La Rochelle also equipped boats to sail to Africa, where they exchanged weapons, cloth, alcohol, and other goods in trade for slaves, which they sent to the West Indies. They were sold there for profit. In the 18th century, there were around 427 documented transatlantic slave trade voyages from La Rochelle. This made the city the second most important French slave port after Nantes. Historical influences can still be seen language-wise on the sculpture Le Globe de la Francophonie, showing all the countries on our globe where French is mainly spoken today. This is a rather dark history of this otherwise very beautiful city with its arcaded streets and luminous limestone buildings which glow in the bright coastal sunlight. One can easily see why La Rochelle is also referred to as La Ville Blanche, the White City.
Mon boulanger, là, il est sur la main.
Not only the love of the French food, but also the love of the French language was something that we felt that day.
What was the problem we had today?
Our fridge broke down and it has a small leakage in the pipe and all the cooling liquid went out. Yeah, well, I was trying to solve the problem, but no chance that I could do it by my own. So we asked a French guy, and of course he only speaks French. Huh? It was a very, very nice conversation about technical stuff.
So it was Français step 3. But we managed.
Yeah.
This was actually the first time we had to get someone on Thula to fix a problem that we normally would have liked to fix on our own. Especially Ilya had a hard time dealing with the fact of giving work into someone else's hands. But having no special gas for the refrigerator pipes, nor according connections to fill it in the end we were just happy being helped by a French fridge specialist. The local nautic store had contacted him after we had bought a new condensator for an amount of money equaling a whole month living on Thula, which really hurt.
Ilya, what's for dinner today?
Today is falafel. Today green beans with onions and garlic and Speck, ne?
Bacon.
Bacon. Yeah.
A good meal always helps to get back to senses after such an immense unplanned expense.
Yeah, in my next life, I would be a cook. Cooking all day long. Okay, we just left La Rochelle and we have like a 120-mile trip now. And for long trips we prepare our, let's call it aft cabin maybe, or kabuff. And this is where we sleep because this is then the best place when the ship is rolling. Yeah.
And Thula was rolling that night. Due to the fact that unsteady waves came rolling from seemingly all directions, mainly from the northwest, we had a pretty rough overnight sail.
So, it's 8 o'clock in the evening. Ilya is already sleeping downstairs, and we're just passing the Gironde entry, river entry, and our final goal is Arcachon, I think it's called. And we still have around 61 miles to go, so we're sailing overnight. It's pretty wavy here. Lots of waves, very high waves, probably also because of the streams into the river. I hope it gets a little bit more gentle tonight. The waves are also not very small, but we have good winds from behind, with around 504, and it's coming from northwest at the moment and supposed to turn to northeast.
But the waves did not get any better. We arrived at the entrance to the bassin d'Arcachon in the morning. Just 8 kilometers south of the city Arcachon, so directly at the entrance, you can see the Dune of Pilat, with 115 meters, Europe's highest sand dune. It stretches southwards 2.7 kilometers and is growing eastwards 1.5 meters a year. As locals claim, it has swallowed trees, roads, and even a hotel. This is something we really wanted to see. After 100 nautical miles, we reached the entrance exactly at high tide, which was what we had wished for. There are access channels into this tricky inlet, which can only be transited just before and after high tide. Via VHF, Ilya called Cap Ferret, which visitors are urged to contact for voyage and navigational updates.
Yeah, you arrive on the south or from the north?
We're coming from the north.
Okay, could you give me your ship name?
Ship name Thula. Tango Hotel Uniform Lima Alpha.
And how many crew members on board?
Two crew members on board.
Okay, so and you are a sailing vessel? What is your maximum draft?
We are a sailing vessel. Our maximum draft is 1.6 meters.
Okay, so do you know the position of the buoys?
Yeah, we have the newest carding plotter system on board.
Okay, just to confirm with you, I give you the landing buoy, okay? The position of the landing buoy.
Indeed, some buoys had been moved as they were marked differently on our charts. Cap Ferret recommended the southern entrance, keeping a sharp eye on us via radar. As we approached, both of us grew very quiet, and there was tension in the air. After we had been lifted up by a huge wave and had just escaped the wave ridge, there was no discussion that we were still going into this entrance. We tried to get out of the dangerous wave-breaking zone and then brainstormed what to do. Good morning, Captain.
We just want to enter Arcachon? Arcachon?
Arcachon?
Arcachon, yeah. And Reed's Nautical Almanac, it says we should call the station before. And I was a little bit wondering why we should call them, but we called them, and it was a very well English-speaking guy there, and said, yeah, you can enter, no problem, take care a little bit of a swell. And we tried to enter, and it was like 4 meter swell, waves breaking just in front of the Dupair Bay, like breaking really heavy.
It would have thrown us over, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So let's sail today another 60 miles. Yay!
After a whole night of seasickness. Oh,
No problem.
no problem. Looks pretty calm if you have a look here. But if the big jollies come, they just throw you over.
After having looked at the weather forecast, we decided to head over the Biscay towards the Spanish coast as far as we could. The harbor we decided to head for was Santander. During the day, we did some good sailing, and the waves were also not as choppy anymore as we reached water depths of 500 to 2,000 meters below us.
Hello, what's for dinner today?
Today for dinner is shaky wrap. Roadie wrap, I would say. Oh man. It is really cold outside, but I am so sweating. This is really hard job.
Unluckily, the wind dropped to 0 before in the middle of the night with no chance of returning for the next 12 hours. The waves on the Biscay stayed. It was an absolute fiesta on Thula, being shaken back and forth. Because it was so bad, we had to take the mainsail down. We usually have up for stabilization while motoring, because we were afraid the sail would rip. The only choice we had was to head for the next harbor at the Spanish coast, which was 60 nautical miles away. In the early morning hours, dolphins accompanied us and the green, very high coastline of Bermeo appeared. Those were 3 hard days, as things had not gone as planned, and that I had been affected by seasickness that bad that my stomach had still not relaxed one day after having arrived. If you like this episode, please remember to leave us a like on our channel and subscribe. If you like what we do, have a look on our Patreon platform to see how you could support us. Further information about our journey can be found on the website below. Have a great week and see you next time!